What is good, Tesla family? It's Ray J back with another video, and this I'm going to break down what's going on with Tesla, SPY, Nvda, the QQQ, and a couple of other tickers. I'm going to break down what's happening with the economic calendar thus far, what the news is saying about the markets, and what's going on with Tesla. So we have some new news that just came out. Before I break anything down all this information, before I get into any more details about Tesla, what you should be watching for, let me just mention a couple of things. I am personally not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please smash the like button if you want to see more videos like this. It not only benefits me, it benefits the entire Tesla community as a whole. So anyways, I want to talk about some very interesting things developing on the charts. I just want to zoom out just to show you guys where all of these trend lines came from. But anyways, zooming back in to Tesla. Tesla is dropping just a little bit during the pre-market, and this is something I mentioned that could happen yesterday. But the question is, will Tesla hold this support? Because when you look at Tesla, we have a tendency of holding this yellow trend line over and over and over again. And we might continue to do so as time goes on. So if we do get a little retracement right here, I think Tesla's going to just hold support. And I think it's going to continue to uptrend. So I still think Tesla should hold up as long as there's not any like major bad piece of news that comes out. I'm going to be breaking down more information about the markets over the next few minutes. Let's first talk about some news and stuff. Then I'm going to be breaking down more information about the charts. So the S&P 500 and SPY are getting very close to all-time highs. They're once again continuing to hold up very nicely. We saw the QQQ break its all-time highs, and Nasdaq's getting very close. So it's very interesting and fun to witness as we're seeing the market just rally. The market's starting to retrace just a bit, but it could just be taking a small breather because I still think there's more potential and more room for the markets. Now, there's also some news that came out that Target has been talking more about some of the things going on. They've been shutting down a lot of stores in Seattle, New York, Portland, and San Francisco Bay Area, claiming it was because of crime and stuff. So that's some interesting stuff. There's also some news right here about how, looking at a survey, about 57% of respondents said that shopping sites were one of their top one or two final destinations for Christmas shopping, basically. And that's up 51% from last year, and then the previous high of 55% in 2020. So this is something interesting that just came out, interesting survey. Speaking of Walmart, the retail giant expanded its partnership with buy now and pay later provider Affirm. This is actually kind of suspicious because they know that a lot of Americans may not have as much cash. They know that, we're entering a potential recessionary environment. They know things are getting harder for everyday Americans. So they're once again just hopping in with this trend, buy now, pay later, which I guess could benefit them. But at the same time, I mean, it just shows something that's going on in America that's very different from what many people could be used to. And this is once again something kind of sad, right? As we're seeing different spending behaviors perpetuate. Looking at some other pieces of news, the package delivery colossal FedEx lowered its fiscal revenue outlook for the second consecutive quarter, which is why it's down 10% in extended hours. That is some sad news, but it is what it is. Now let's talk about something new. So for Wednesday, which is today, what's coming out for data? As a reminder, at 10 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time, we have the Consumer Confidence Report coming out. We want this to be at 104. Then we have existing home sales and existing home sales month over month all coming out. We want that to be around 3.77 to 3.79 million. Overall, I think things are looking quite decent, and we want consumer confidence to be as expected. But thus far, things are looking quite good. Watch for volatility 30 minutes after market open. And then besides that, at 11:30 a.m., we have the 17-week bill auction coming out. Then at 1 p.m., we have the 20-year bond auction also coming out. So I'm going to be watching to see how on earth does volatility increase, what's going to happen as time goes on, and we're going to be watching to see how these pieces of data affect the markets. I want to remind you all that at 10 a.m., that's when we have like the more significant pieces of data. So this is when I think the real move is going to happen. Watch and see if the market drops or pumps at this time, 30 minutes after market open, and then we'll be watching for that as well. For Thursday, which is tomorrow, we have the GDP numbers. Then we have PCE for Friday. Just keep that in the back of your mind. More data is going to come out tomorrow. It's going to be a little bit more significant. The Tesla vice president responds to the U.S. senator's misinformed take on the autopilot recall. So that's some important news that came out. There's a lot of misinformation out there about what's going on right here. This has been going on. I mean, Tesla's getting a lot of criticism for things. Some things Tesla could get criticized for. I mean, not everything is just completely out of the water. I think that there are things that Tesla can improve on, especially when it comes to FSD. I admit that. But at the same time, There are a lot of claims that were being made which are just not necessarily true, such as Tesla's being very unsafe cars, Tesla just not doing anything correct, and it's pretty crazy. But if anything, I'm just going to keep this very simple and just going to try to be as honest as possible. There are claims being made about Tesla which are not entirely true. I still think Teslas are very safe cars. I think that they still have so much capability, and we'll be watching how they improve and address a lot of these issues that are being talked about in the future. But I do believe Tesla will address them. Tesla Sweden is also delivering cars without license plates, and I see this as a negative piece of news. I mean, if you think about it, guys, this has been going on for weeks. The protests, the unions in Sweden, Norway, not to mention Finland getting involved, and Denmark. It's just ridiculous. It's crazy, and I think that Tesla needs to start addressing this. Tesla has to do a better job at forming some kind of like bipartisan agreement. They need to work much harder at doing that, and I think that they have to do this as fast as possible because they're once again trying to continue to do what they have to do. They're continuing to just cause these troubles, these problems, and Tesla has to deal with them. So I'm waiting to see what Tesla does. I'm going to be very patient. And with that being said, let's now break down some of these charts. So as far as Tesla goes, we have our 255 support at the 30 minutes 50 EMA. And I'm going to be watching to see how Tesla holds this support because right here, Tesla's looking like a little weaker. We could be forming a flag here. We could actually come down just a little bit more. I'm going to be watching this 255 zone, which is where we had these previous wicks. Then we have this yellow trend line here, right? So the yellow trend line was support here. We kind of bounced off of it here and here and here. I'm going to be watching to see if we get some kind of bounce like right here before we try to break out to the upside. But overall, guys, I just want to make it clear that Tesla is still uptrending. It's still holding up nicely, and it's not looking extremely bearish overall. So even if Tesla does something like this, where we're forming this like flag, we end up just coming down just a little bit more. We slowly make our way down to this 254 area. We could still hold up very nicely temporarily and just start pushing up. Anyways, I still think Tesla will break its way through the 260 resistance as time goes on. But just to be honest, just to be safe, we're on a slow uptrend. We're continuing to uptrend slowly. So could we drop a little bit more? Yes, we can, but I think Tesla will ultimately bounce. Now, if just hypothetically, guys, if some bad piece of news comes out, Tesla announces something bad, I'm going to be watching 252 as support if we do break the yellow trend line. And we also have this gap below. If we lose that in 250, then I would turn bearish, and I think we're going to be sinking back down like this. I'm going to be watching the 250 support to see if Tesla could hold that. All right. So that's going to be our key level. I don't think that this is going to pan out, by the way. I just wanted to call out the bearish case. I think we're more likely to see Tesla just try to hold up into kind of like range trade today, then make its way up much higher past 258 to 260 as time goes on. We have resistance at 258 is the key level, and then we have support at 254, and also where this yellow trend line is. So watch that very carefully going into today. I'm going to be kind of quick with the ending of this video. I don't want to make this video too long, so I'm going to be kind of quick from this point, guys. When it comes to SPY, I just want to break down that we're basically retesting this resistance, this 473.3 to 478 zone. I called out a little retracement yesterday. I said we might drop a little bit before we try to continue higher. If we lose 473, we could drop a little lower towards the 472 range, which is where we have this gap. So if we lose 473, we could drop just a bit more. But I think that regardless of if we drop down to 472 and bounce, or if we just kind of like bounce from here, there's likely going to be another reaccumulation and a nice bounce after that. So I could see this thing trying to hold 473 to bounce, or it could come a little bit lower towards 472 and then bounce. If we lose 473, either way, I see a drop in bounce being imminent, and I think that SPY will continue higher later on. I ultimately see this thing hitting 480 before the year ends. I still think it's very possible. On the QQQ, this is retracing just a little bit, but we're going to be watching to see if we kind of chop around this 408 area. If we lose the 408 area, there's a risk of it coming down to 406 to fill this gap and then a nice bounce. So I could see it dropping, kind of chopping a bit, then bouncing, or just dropping a little bit, then bouncing. I still think that's possible for the QQQ. On Nvda is still trying to hold up. We're going to be watching the support. If we lose 488, I would turn bearish for a retracement to 482. If we're bullish, we want to see it break 495. If it breaks that, look for a push back up towards 500. But if we have a nice double bottom like formation, we're going to be watching to see if Nvidia could break this level. Do we break above 495 to turn bullish, or do we lose 488 to turn bearish? My gut tells me it's going to range trade for a bit, maybe try to push up later on. We have a nice double bottom like formation, and there's no sign of it completely turning bearish yet. So we're going to be watching to see how Nvidia does. Finally, for Aapl, Trying to hold 196. If we lose 196, watch 195.5. We'll be fine if that holds. If we lose 195.5, I would turn more bearish, and I think we could start sinking back down to 194 before trying to bounce. If we break 197, we could start pushing to much higher levels, like where these wicks are. All right, so breaking 197 is bullish. Losing 195.5 would be bearish. And I think that right now, Apple overall, it looks bullish. So even if it does come down just a little bit, I think it's going to reaccumulate and try to push up later on by Friday with a nice inverse head and shoulders like structure that's valid. But just to be safe, make sure you watch your levels. If we lose 194.4, we would be very bearish if we lost that. Right now, we're still holding up. So watch and see if Apple kind of like range trades a bit and then eventually pushes up later on. All right, so I think it's going to just kind of range trade and eventually break to the upside later on, guys, by Friday. That's what I think is more probable, but watch the levels I called out just to be safe. All right, that's it for this one. Thank you for listening. Have a great day, and I'll see you guys very soon in just a few hours. Thanks again, and peace out.